I refuse to accept that all the laws and constitutions and police and judges are unable to protect our children. I refuse to accept that the shackles of slavery can ever be more stronger than the quest for freedom. I refuse to accept here.
2014 is fast winding up, but we have one more opportunity to list all the good things that happened this year.
This ceremony marks the successful completion of a long journey in this region to eradicate polio.
Here is a topper list of the top 10 good news of the year.
Big picture, progress is real and it's tangible.
As recorded by Good News Today. To begin with, the 10th spot is the fact that more planets have been discovered in 2014 than in any other year before. This year itself, NASA reported nearly 800 planetary discoveries. Compare that with last year's count of under 200 and a bare few more a year before.
Big picture, progress is real and it's tangible, and if you're driving around the Kennedy Space Center, you can see it. It's happening, and it's happening fast.
NASA has completely dwarfed its own record this time. At this speed, with new technology and advanced spacecrafts, astronomers predict another 20,000 alien planet discoveries in the next 5 years. In 2014, Iraq announced the complete closure of Abu Ghraib, the infamous prison in which members of the US military physically and sexually abused Iraqi prisoners. The Iraqi government cited security concerns as the reason for the closure. Abu Ghraib jail was made infamous by Saddam Hussein's regime and later US forces. Iraq is suffering a protracted surge in violence that has claimed more than thousands of lives so far this year, and the area west of Baghdad, where the prison is located, is particularly insecure. All 2,400 inmates arrested or sentenced for terrorism-related offences were transferred to other facilities in central and northern Iraq. The closure of Abu Ghraib is 9th on our list of top good news of 2014. In February this year, high-ranking officials from China and Taiwan met in Nanking, China. For the first time since the 1949 split, minister-level officials from both countries held talks. While the meeting was largely symbolic, it signaled both sides' willingness to maintain stability and share warmer ties. By the end of the year, fragile relations between the two countries were threatened by the electoral drubbing of erstwhile ruling party of Taiwan. However, both countries took cautious steps to rebuild the bridge.
The political risk is that if the Ma Ying-jeou administration handles it well, it may well boost its popularity and help to achieve better results in the important parliamentary and local elections to be held at the very end of this year. And if he fails and if he mishandles these meetings and so on, this may become a point of criticism.
Cuba freed US aid contractor Alan Gross, sentenced to 15 years in prison in 2011 for his efforts to create communication channels beyond Cuban government control. Cuba released Gross on humanitarian grounds after his family's repeated attempts to bring him back to attend his mother's funeral failed. In response, President Barack Obama announced that he will work with Cuba to resume full diplomatic relations between the two countries for the first time since 1961. After 18 months of secret talks, Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro agreed on a phone call to open embassies in each other's countries, ease some restrictions on commerce, and a breakthrough prisoner exchange was achieved.
I want there to be relations between Cuba and the United States because that guarantees that Cuba will finally be free.
The two leaders made the announcement in simultaneous television speeches. The Vatican and Canada facilitated the deal. India was officially declared polio-free by the World Health Organization in March this year. India is one of the 11 countries in the Southeast Asian region which have been certified as being free of the wild polio virus. In January this year, India marked completion of 3 years without a single case of polio being reported. India reported 150,000 cases of paralytic polio in 1985 and 741 new infections that led to paralysis in 2009. Following year, the number fell to double figures before the last case in January 2011.
This ceremony marks the successful completion of a long journey in this region to eradicate polio. It also marks one of the biggest public health achievements.
The journey has not been easy. In India, we embarked on it 19 years ago in 1995, when the disease used to cripple more than 50,000 children in the country every year.
This was a great achievement, making it to the 6th spot on the good news list of 2014. The Rosetta space mission, which has for the first time put a spacecraft in orbit around a comet and landed a robotic probe on its surface, has been voted the most important scientific breakthrough of 2014 by the editors of the journal Science. The robotic spacecraft, launched by the European Space Agency, began orbiting the 2.5-mile wide comet in early August before deploying the Philae lander to the surface.
Philae is talking to us. First things he told us was that the harpoons have been fired, rewound, and the landing gear has been moved inside, so we are sitting on the surface. Philae is talking to us, more data to come and to be analyzed right now.
But Rosetta is still orbiting Comet 67P from just a few miles away, allowing scientists unprecedented views of the celestial object, making it the 5th great good news of 2014. In a landmark judgment, the Supreme Court created the 3rd gender status for the hijras or transgenders. Earlier, they were forced to write male or female against their gender. The Apex Court asked Centre to treat transgender as socially and economically backward. This would allow them to be admitted in educational institutions and given employment on the basis that they belong to the 3rd gender category.
Right from their birth, they have been deprived of their education because of their profession, unemployment and homelessness. Everything was felt, but nobody was bothering about them. The Supreme Court has today made it very clear to the governments, in the state governments and the central government, that take care of them. They are part and parcel of the society and they should be dealt equally with all other citizens like that.
This is for the first time that the 3rd gender has got a formal recognition, and thus it becomes the 4th good news of 2014. Indian child right campaigner Kailash Satyarthi And Pakistan's Malala Yousafzai received the Nobel Peace Prize this year. Malala became the youngest ever Nobel laureate. 60-year-old Satyarthi was recognized for his 35-year-long battle to free thousands of children from virtual slave labor.
I refuse to accept that all the temples and mosques and churches and prayer houses have no place for the dreams of our children. I refuse to accept that the world is so poor when just 1 week of military expenditure can bring all the children to classrooms. I refuse to accept that all the laws and constitutions and police and judges are unable to protect our children. I refuse to accept that the shackles of slavery can ever be more stronger than the quest for freedom. I refuse to accept here.
While 17-year-old Malala became a global icon after she was shot and nearly killed by the Taliban for insisting that girls had a right to education.
We want girls to come out, to speak up for their rights and to believe in themselves. And if they really want to see change, if they want to see equal rights for women, if they want to see the opportunity of education for girls, then they have to step forward and they have to speak.
World came together to recognize the two great icons of child right activism. From Indian subcontinent, marking it the third biggest good news of 2014. It was the longest election in Indian history. Starting from 7th April, it continued till 12th of May. The general elections in India in 2014 were also the biggest democratic exercise the world has ever witnessed. India election process to form the 16th Lok Sabha was separated over 9 phases and has also been adjudged the second most expensive election exercise in world history. Only the 2012 US presidential election cost more at $7 billion, with 814 million people voting in this world's largest election ever. It was a tough battle that Narendra Modi won to form a majority government, pivoting it to the second most important good news in our chart of the year 2014. Mangalyaan, or the Mars Orbiter mission, was a spectacular success. The Mangalyaan project, executed at a mere tenth of a price of what USA spends, raises new possibilities for the future of space travel. Budget cuts for space research, especially at NASA, means that ISRO is now better placed to exploit the cost advantage.